Hello and welcome to the Analytic Show, the podcast of business through the lens of data science. But together, we'll dive into learning and sharing where various industries are heading and how data and analytics is at the heart of shaping business growth and productivity. Let's spark different ways of thinking about data and analytics that is relevant to you and prepare your business for future disruption. I'm your host, Jason Tan. I'm delighted you could make it on this journey with us. Hey guys, to continue to get support tips, techniques, and tools and learn from the expert, hit that subscribe button wherever you are so we can keep in touch and continue our lifelong learning together. So, are you using your company data to its full potential? Take our embedded analytic assessment to find out your score. A leading organization like Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google have moved beyond dashboard and embedded data science directly into their daily business operation. With our 3-minute test, you will discover your potential in optimizing customer experience and revenue through embedded analytics. You will gain greater clarity, insight, and advice to embed analytics. Plus, you will receive customized results instantly. Find the link to this assessment in the description of this episode. Hello, Harjot. Welcome to the Analytic Show podcast. I'm so excited to have you here talking about the digital transformation and various bits that you are about to share. How are you today?
I'm good, Jason. How about you?
I have been very well. Thank you so much for asking. Now,
How is the weather in Brisbane? I heard that it's going to be pretty hot summer this time in Queensland.
Oh no, I'm not so looking forward to that. I think it has been decent winter, but at some point it was rather cold. So I'm not too looking forward to the hot summer. Well, I sure can tell you that I'm jealous with the breeze that you enjoy in Perth. And thank you so much for dialing from Perth. On that note, I realized that I actually haven't got much of the west coast of Australia of the people. Sometimes I feel like we seem to live in two separate worlds, despite that we are all in the same country. But for the benefit of the listener, Australia is really big. So between East Coast and West Coast, from Brisbane to Perth, where I am at to Harjot at, is about 5.5 hour flight. So think about that and take that.
Yeah, Perth is closer to Singapore than the East Coast. We share the same time zone with Singapore and Malaysia. Yeah, I think you're right. After working in Sydney and UAE and then Perth, I realized that Western Australia is a completely different world in terms of work culture, in terms of speed of working. But I love Perth because it has got many Australia. You got nice mountains, you got nice beaches, you got nice sceneries, and you got nice weather. The southern part of Western Australia is very cold, the northern part is very warm. So you don't miss Australia. So I call it mini Australia. You get all the things that you need in Australia in Perth itself.
Oh, that's a good point. And I always want to maybe to extend myself to Perth a little bit more because, like you say, it's so much closer to Singapore and Malaysia. So I could have excuse to fly back and see my parents.
True.
Now, I realize, as you probably highlighted earlier, you have been transitioned to and from Australia to United Arab Emirates and back to Australia, back and forth. Now, my very first question for you is, thinking back of this journey, anything in particular stood out for you?
See, normally how I say is that I worked across 3 continents, Asia, Africa, and Oceania, and roughly 5 countries and 9 cities now and over the last
Oh, wow.
25 years. So from India, I moved to Africa and then moved to Australia. And then
Mm,
from there, I moved to UAE and now back to Perth. So I think Therefore, I think the biggest, you can say, eye opener for me is the multicultural setting, the way companies operate. I mean, I don't really feel that I'm working in a separate location,
Mm,
because your colleagues are coming from multilingual setups. So, in Sydney or Melbourne are pretty multicultural. And I was surprised to see that in UAE as well. When I was working for Etihad, I think we had people from 110 nationalities over there.
wow.
Yeah, so English is definitely pretty common language, and some people sometimes we used to speak Hindi as well. Hindi or Urdu is also widely spoken. And
Wow.
back in Perth, Australia is a single language country, so I never had a problem in adjusting to the multiculturalism of Australian society. So whether it's Sydney or Melbourne or Perth, in terms of work culture, it's pretty much the similar stuff. And
Mm,
now, with the kind of digital tools you have, whether you're using Team or Zoom or everything is pretty similar. You don't really feel that it's a completely different company or a completely different time zone. Pretty much is similar. Of course, there are subtle differences, but I had no problem in adapting wherever I worked actually.
that is good to hear. Now, I know traveling is, especially now that the borders are opening and everything seems to go back to normal. Traveling is probably big on the agenda for many people, including myself. But for those who want to go through the same experience and journey like you did, but nine company in 5 countries, what is your advice for them?
See, there are different perspectives. Sometimes, people would love to stick to one industry, because when I was working for Etihad Airways, I saw people working in the airline domain for almost 20 years,
Mm,
and then there were some people who were, very much focused on their technical expertise rather than the industry vertical. So I decided to choose a path where I developed my technical domain expertise across various industries. So I stuck to the data, and now very recently in digital transformation, and I decided to work across different industries. While I was working in India, I was working for a public sector utility company. Then I joined a telecom company in Africa, and I joined a consulting Hewlett Packard back in Australia. Then I worked for public sector, then airline domain, then e-commerce and retail, and then fintech, and now back into insurance. So RSC was a conglomerate. We had insurance business predominantly, but we had park and resources, roadside assistance, so etc. So what I was looking for is I was looking to get different kinds of industry exposure, but stick to one technical domain expertise. So now I'm pretty much a data person and digital transformation person, but have experience across multiple industries. And that's where I feel that it's the right time to you know start my advisory service, because I have experience across lots of industries. Because if you talk to me about banking or insurance, I'm comfortable. If you talk to me about airlines, I'm good. If you talk to me about utilities or public sector or telco industry, I'm happy to share my input on that. So that's how I build my expertise across various sectors. And that's where probably it's good to start utilizing the ideas from across the industries to build towards your business drivers. For example, when I say that airline industry can has the capability to price a seat differently within the same aircraft, within the same
yeah.
route, based on their relationship with the customer. Now, but if banking and financial industries, they have a fixed mortgage product. Now,
Mm,
if they say that if they can use artificial intelligence and machine learning capability, and of course the customer genome, if they get to know the customer better, then based on their relationship with the customer, they can charge a different product. They can
mm,
price the product differently. That's where financial sector can learn from airlines. So, and then similarly other sectors, they can learn from each other very well.
mm.
And that's where I feel that it's time to start imparting that knowledge to different business owners.
Good that you're focusing on the data and digital transformation. I always feel like both of them are going hand in hand. Now, I clearly the one of them is probably easier for some of the industry versus other. My question for you then is how important is digital transformation for organizations that are not digital native, but like in the traditional industry, such as the banks, insurers, the airline, the manufacturing, those sort of traditional industry?
Well, that's very interesting question. Normally, people think of data and digital transformation differently, as completely two different outcomes. But I feel that both data and digital are two sides of the same coin
Mm,
because one is incomplete without the other. Why I say so is simply because data provides you lots of ammunition. Let's say that you got huge amount of data, but how you utilize that data, how you monetize that data, you need to have some digital channels, you know, to utilize that data to help provide that, inputs or outputs to the for that data or those outcomes to the customer. Now, just give you two examples now. Now, in local Australian market, everybody knows Coles as a retailer, you know, and Coles are sitting on about 8 million flyby customers. That's their huge data gold mine. That's data. Now, what they are doing is they are monetizing the data by diversifying their business portfolio. You must have heard about Coles credit card, Coles
mm,
insurance. Yeah. So what
mm,
they are doing is, and they are putting some digital channels on top of their data. So they are diversifying their business. Now their Coles insurance product is underwritten by IAG. They
mm,
are as good as their competitor. Now their credit card product is underwritten by previously by Citibank, now with NAB. you
mm,
know so what they are doing is they're not creating a new branch of business, but they are utilizing the power of a digital app. So they have created different app for credit card, for flybys, and for their insurance program. They are building those apps on top of their data, and with the help of service providers they are driving those apps. So now app is a digital channel for reaching out to the customer. They got the customer data from flyby records, and through their app, they are reaching out to the customers. And that's how they are actually utilizing their power of data and digital transformation to expand the business. So if you give me a minute, probably I will share with you the digital framework that I have designed, because that will help you in understanding better.
sure, go for it.
Yeah, so I will share my screen. Let me know once you can share it.
Yes, I'm seeing that now.
Okay, I won't go into detail, but I will just run from this slide only. See, this is your data platform. And then based on data, you can build your intelligent automation, which is AI or ML based, and or RPA, you can, re-engineer your processes and, automate your services. Now, this mobile app and website. So let's say that this is a Kohl's credit card mobile app, and this is their data platform is their Flybys data. So what they are doing is they are building an app on top of their data platform, and then they are reaching out to their customers. And another thing is which is through the service orchestration layer, which is essentially a middleware layer. So whatever you communicate with your mobile app through the middleware layer, it reaches out to your credit card platform or your data platform. That's in a sense, that's the framework. And if you see, most of the components of the frameworks are based on what data tells you to do. So
Mm,
underneath, that's where it's starting with the data. Another one is that what it helps you in doing the product redesign. Product redesign is basically customizing your product to suit the customer needs. The example I gave is that different pricing arrangement for airline seat, or similarly, different pricing arrangement can happen for insurance product as well as mortgage products. And that's in a sense where I see that the data and digital together drives your journey. So you got your 360-degree view or a customer genome, what we call it, your loyalty database, and data will help you drive your AI and ML strategy. Then you can have your, speed to market, omni-channel interface, then customized campaign and interaction, and more importantly, product customization and specification. That's where I see that the data and digital are very complementary to each other. Imagine if you remove this data component out of it. So none of these components will work perfectly all right. You will still have an app, but it is not interacting with your backend data. You can't really drive an automation or RPA because no data is there. Or if you keep the data there but you remove the mobile app and website and automation out of it, which are part of digital transformation, so your data, you can't really monetize that data. So that's where I feel that both data and digital transformation are complementary to each other.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that I have found from my experience is, well, I come from the data background. Over the years, I have built various analytic application, ML application with a front end with that. So the way that I tend to think about it is when I am building the product is that I think about the data first, and I build all the data, I build all the process, and then I only build the screen and then go on and take the data that required to fill the screen. And if we were to, and I found that if I were to speak with someone from the software engineer background, they tend to go the other way around. It's like they build the screen, they build the process, and then only they think about where the data or the table or data structure would look like. But I find that they are so interchanged, and either way, I actually think that the people in the software, they actually have been playing with the data for so long, but they just never seem to really appreciate the importance of the data in such a way that we are today. Do you think that resonate with you, considering
Definitely
what
it
you have
does.
said? Yeah.
Definitely it does. I think the problem is that people feel that data is different from the application or application interface. And that's where all the problems come into the system, because unless you know your data, you won't be able to craft you can say a useful application. Because think of that, data is like a blood in your body. If it's there, and you don't really need to be bothered if it's working perfectly fine. But the moment there is a problem, the doctor says that, can you do a blood test first of all, you know so to identify the problem. Similar way, I think, being a data person, I am biased towards data. And that's where I feel that knowing your data is of huge value before designing your application. Because, and then I would say that it's not a problem for technical people, but it's for the business people, because they are the custodians of the data. They know their data well. They should be able to articulate the business drivers they want to achieve through the transformation journey, or through the application they're asking technical people to build. Now that's where I see the role of, think of that in a construction industry. A builder will build the house the way you want, or the customized house, but it's for the house owner to know that this is the configuration they want, whether they want 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, or exactly the layout they want. That's where it's for the technical people. They will build whatever they have been told. And that's where I feel that there needs to be a close collaboration between both the technology people, data people, and the business people, so that
Absolutely.
they can build, that's where they can build an application that is really useful. That's where this framework comes into the picture, because I would like to show you an interesting meme as well. That's where I feel that that needs to happen, because I recently took this diagram here. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
You know, so unless there is an alignment, the mistakes are bound to happen, and then correcting those mistakes is really, really expensive.
Mm,
You know, so you have to probably pivots at somewhere in your journey, you have to restart, or sometimes in rare cases you might have to scrap it again. So that's where probably I feel that the close collaboration between different experts, whether it is data or whether it's technology or the business people, needs to happen. And they need to start by looking at the data and the business drivers. They can get it from the data, they can build on top of data.
absolutely. What do you see are some of the challenges that the organization often face in the process of digital transformation?
Again, very good question. So I wrote an article on LinkedIn recently. I think the first question is to understand that when we talk about digital transformation, it's not a technology transformation. It's a business transformation. So
Absolutely.
when people talk about technology transformation, they say we are going to the cloud, our ERP is going to the cloud, we have an app ready for our business. But these are the technical components. But unless you have agreed on the business drivers, that what do you want to achieve from your business transformation? For example, is your purpose compliance? You want to be GDPR or EPRA or CPG 235 compliance? Or you want to bring efficiency of your operations? Because if you are a B2B industry, like say a mining company or a resourcing company, you want to bring an efficiency into your operation through a process of automation or through the process of AI or ML. You want to use IoT services like that. So is that your business driver? Third, do you have sufficiently clean data? What is the level of your data quality? When we were studying, we were always just saying that garbage in, garbage out. That's still very true. That is the data quality is sufficient to build your analytics on top of that, or build your AI or ML engine on top of that. So and then other basically, let me have a look. So ignoring data is a critical thing that you don't really, when you want to build your services, you ignore data, that like we discussed in the last question. Keep data as core of your digital transformation strategy, because what you are doing is you are doing digital transformation to make use or monetize your data or do a business diversification. So that's another thing. So last thing which I feel which is often neglected is the adoption during the digital transformation. Normally
Mm,
people tell that it has to be top down. Definitely it has to be top down, because you need to have a uh, you know buy-in from a C-suite. Your CEOs need to be driving your digital transformation journey. However, I feel that the bottom-up approach is equally important, because it's this your front-end managers or your middle-level managers will actually utilize the tools you have built. Without they adopting the new tools or without they joining into your digital transformation journey, you are not going to get that kind of success rate that is expected. Of course, top down is driving that, but the bottom up adoption is equally important, I feel. And other than, there are certain points that, again, like mentioned about data quality, buy-in, and then one thing which I will like to stress, you know, people have the CDOs, or the companies have CDOs role, rather chief data officer or digital officer's role as part of their portfolio. But because these are new roles, so these roles are not properly curated in the organization.
mm.
There is always a
What do you mean
resource
by that?
contention. Yeah, there are always resource contention between different, department heads, and then they say that at the end of the day, the BAU works take a priority. BAU work takes a priority, which to me is a bit ironic situation, because both CDO, chief digital officer, or chief data officer, are transformational roles. They won't exist forever. So those roles come into industry for 2 3 years, drive a transformation, and move on. For example, who is the CDO of Facebook? Who is the CDO of Amazon? None.
Good
Because
question,
those
Adam.
because those companies grew up by using the data. Their CEOs are driving the transformation, rather generated those companies through data. When you watch YouTube channels,
Mm,
they will, based on your browsing habits, they will start showing you the videos
mm,
so that they can monetize your viewing and show you some ads. So now these companies, because they are generated from the data, so they don't need CDOs role. CDO roles are there to drive the transformation. So if you are having a CDO role, let them focus on driving the transformation rather than focus on the BAU. If
yeah.
your focus is on BAU, don't hire a CDO. Rather, I would say that hire a reporting manager or head of data. Don't hire a CDO if you are not driving transformation. So that's where the key important point, which I feel, is that there are CDOs roles available, but their focus is maintaining the status quo. Once the initial hurdle is done, whether it is a compliance or whether it is a data quality, once that is done, they are being asked to focus on the status quo. Can you focus
Mm.
on the existing reports? And the answer is no, because I need to build a new platform. I need to start driving the AI and ML capability. If you don't want that, thank you very much. So that's where I would say that don't waste a precious resource, and let them, and ask them to focus on building, maintaining a status quo. That's why we say that these are transformational roles. They stay in a company for 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years, and once they feel that you are at a level where you are established a data driven culture, probably it's time to move on.
Hey all, I just want to give a quick shout out about this episode. It's sponsored by the Embedded Analytic program at DDA. And the Embedded Analytic program is designed for senior manager and executive in the business team who want to integrate data science into daily business operation and use it to drive customer experience excellence and revenue. And book unlimited strategy session for a full year and start embedding analytics into the business frontline. For more information about this program, please refer to the description of this episode. Now, let's get on back to the interview. Do you feel like almost to some extent that it is the role, this sort of role that are newly created in some of the organizations are almost just a symbolic for them to say, or for them to comfort themselves to say we are
We
data
got a
driven,
CDO.
we got a CDO. How
Very
can we
right.
tell we are not
Very
data
right.
driven at all?
True. True. Very right. I think this is where the approach is. The roles are created for the sake of it, without realizing is that what is the roadmap, or what are the drivers you want the CDO to achieve. Companies don't really have a roadmap, and when they ask for the CDOs to have that strategy, once that strategy is there, then we say, okay, we didn't think it that way, and we didn't know that these many resources would be required, and we didn't know that we can use AI and ML, but because we can't give you resources, can you please focus on those things? So basically what we need to do is, once you create a CDO role in any organization, you need to curate it properly and give them some free hand as well in terms of resources or in terms of budgeting. That's why you see that this average tenure for a CDO is just 2 years to 2.5 years. That's because there are challenges, because these are new
Mm,
roles, transformational roles, and it's quite different from a CTO and CIO role, where CTO and CIO are mainly focused on delivering the services,
yep.
whereas CDO is more about delivering the value. you know so that's where, how do you generate value out of your data? That's why I feel that the CDO roles shouldn't be a cost center, rather they are the value center, rather they are the money spinners business for you, for any organization. That's why I see that I normally give example of Apple. Apple has got 1.5 billion customer base. And imagine if Apple thought that, we are a device company, we have no business in monetizing the data, but they would have lost on huge revenue. So what Apple has done, Apple has launched its credit card. It's not in Australia, but it's there in UAE. It's a virtual card, comes with your phone. And then if you work in credit card industry, you know that when the issuer gets 2.5% of your spend merchandise spending back to the coffers. So just some number crunching say that with 1.5 million customer base, and despite giving 2% cash back also, so Apple is minting huge money through the credit card business. It's all about power of data and digital. They realize the importance of their 1.5 billion customer loyalty base. Same thing Qantas did. Qantas, they are selling their credit card and insurance because they have their flybys program. Sorry, every day they are clubbing with the everyday rewards program. Hopefully, so that's how they are monetizing the data.
Coming back to something that you just raised really interestingly is you talk about the CIO and CTO delivering the services while the CDO should be delivering value.
The value.
I probably would say they're all delivering value, but the bit that I want to check in though, especially when you touch on the value center versus the cost center or the profit center versus the cost center, to some extent, I think partly a lot of time people are still viewing the CDO as a cost center is because the CDO or the role itself very much is still the traditional of the data warehousing, the BI, the dashboard, and then occasionally might throw in a bit of AI and ML application. I feel like maybe that's the reason why. But should the CDO is being seen and also have the support and able to conceptualize to monetize the data to build out the AI and the ML application that would have the direct impact of the business, that is where perhaps they can be equally seen as a profit center, as a delivering services, as a critical component of the businesses. What do you think is missing, or what do you think is missing in moving that whole mindset shift and also that shift in the role to be able to achieve a profit center?
But before I answer that, I would go back to visit my comments on. Don't take it, out of context when I say that CTO and CIOs are delivering services and not delivering value. Doesn't mean that they are not delivering. I mean, obviously
they
there are
definitely
services.
deliver value. I agree.
Definitely, and there are services, and without the CIO and CTO, you can't really function. Your technology department
Absolutely
cannot function. But the only difference I was trying to make is that if the CIO or CTO do not monetize the value of data, nobody will raise a finger on them. Nobody will point a finger on them, But if the CDO role is not delivering value, very soon people will start questioning that. Without, I think the basic one, coming back to your question, the problem lies in improper curation of the role. I think when you want to create a CDO role, whether it is a chief data officer or chief digital officer in an organization, we need to define a proper drivers that these are the things we want to achieve. These are the things we want to focus on. Now, let us say that coming back to the framework. So now, are you building to consolidate your data into a single version of truth so that all the information comes on tap? Now, as a first point. Second point is that, do you want to build a customer analytics on top of that? Do you want to build an automation engine on top of that? And do you want to build a service orchestration layer so that your front end channels can speak to data directly? Like, then that becomes an afterpay solution. For example, I come back to that example now. And then do you want to build a product customization approach? Now, unless those business drivers are defined and agreed by the top management, rather I would say board of directors, because when we say data needs to show in the balance sheet. Now, board of directors is responsible for maintaining the healthy balance sheet, whereas CEO is responsible for P&L. So I would say that this role needs to be created after consultation with the board directly, saying that these are 4 or 5 items we want the CDOs to achieve in next 4 or 5 years. Now, based on that, and that's where my advisory services will come into the picture, because I see a huge gap in the market that people are creating CDO roles without realizing that these are the things they can get it done. Now, once those drivers are agreed, then you need to have a roadmap. And once that roadmap is agreed, then it's all about execution, resources, and budget. But the first thing is that unless the first hurdle is closed or the key points are agreed, that's where you start facing the challenges. That's where start facing the problem. Obviously, probably there are different reasons the roles are created. Sorry, sometimes it could be like compliance in Europe. If you see in the last 2 3 years, there is a huge surge in CDO roles simply because of GDPR. And I did a survey that they were paying from 80,000 pounds to 250,000 pounds, or I think 200,000, 250,000 euros. Now, can you imagine the salary gap between 80,000 pounds to 250,000 euros per annum? So now, when you look at these kind of roles, then you get to know that what are the business drivers behind creating that role. So if an organization is paying a minuscule amount to CDO, you realize that probably their focus is just to have a namesake for the sake of compliance and reporting, and that's it. Because they don't really feel that they can generate huge amount of value from the CDO role. Whereas in comparison to the company, they have a properly curated role. They know that if they will have those business drivers around monetization of data, they can afford to pay that much money to a CDO. That's fair. Now, coming back to the example, when we say that when I showed you the framework, the service orchestration layer. Now think of Afterpay. Commonwealth Bank Afterpay was evaluated at 25 billion USDs, and then Commonwealth Bank is investing in StepPay or Klarana and all that. And I'm saying, with this framework, you can build your credit card or your mobile application, which is as good as Afterpay. All you need to do is create a link in your mobile app that can speak to your credit card platform through your middleware. And then let's say that if there is a certain threshold, if you see any transaction worth more than $1,000, create a link that pops up a window saying that, do you want to convert this into installments? If the answer is yes, so it's $1,000 are converted into 4 installments of $250 spread across a period of 4 months. Boom, you are an Afterpay.
Yeah.
So that's because your mobile app is talking to your credit card platform. Now, this facility is available across all the platforms, because if you can't make an installment, during the financial stress period, you make a call to the bank obliges you by dividing those installments into the value into number of installments. But if you digitize that through your mobile app, through your service orchestration layer or your middleware layer, and they are talking to your credit card platform, you are as good as Afterpay.
I
That's
feel
where I
like a lot
see
of
that.
those things are more of a product innovation or business model innovation, though. I feel like that is probably not something a data scientist or a tech person would have on their sleeve. Sounds like more of a business
Again, that's
model.
yeah, no, that's no, that's where coming to the value that what are the business drivers. So
Yeah.
now, if you agree on a business driver that I want to automate, this service, or I want to bring some sort of an Afterpay kind of service, that's your business driver. That was why I'm saying that it is doable, because at the end of the day, you're talking about integrating your data at the back end and your mobile app at the front end. And the way, irrespective of the way you do it, I would prefer to do it through a service orchestration layer, which I would say is called MAC architecture. It's microservices based. cloud native first, and it's headless architecture. It's that's what I call Mac architecture. It's a new term, not new, but yes, this term is in vogue because what you are doing is you are building a modular architecture. So irrespective of you change your mobile app or you change your credit card platform, you are doing an API-based integration rather than point-to-point integration. Now that's the advantage of cloud, and that's the advantage of your digital transformation journey. So if you agree that while you are doing a move to the cloud as part of technical transformation, if you can agree on the low hanging fruit that this can be done, I would say that this is kind of a business innovation, as you said it, or a business driver for me to do as part of data and digital transformation.
Fascinating. Now, coming back to the role of data and analytics play in digital transformation, is there any other role that the data analytic can play, but it may have been majorly overlooked over the time?
I think, as I said, that the data is like blood running in your body. So you can't survive without it, and then it has to be of good quality. You can't have blood infection and survive for long. So basically, again, let me take you back because I have written lots of articles on LinkedIn around that. Let me share you my screen again. Okay. Example, and then products. It's all about product customization. That's where I feel that the data is the key question, or you can say key component of driving your digital transformation. Rather, I coined this definition, which is reaching out to your customer base by launching customized products with quick speed to market. That's where I feel that data is driving your digital transformation. And that's where when I give a presentation, I named my presentation as data-driven digital transformation.
What are the potential risks that may come with the data that associated with the digital transformation?
I think the most important is the quality of your data, because if you are building a machine learning model to build AI services, it's the quality of data is of very high importance. That's the first thing. And the second hurdle is mainly around priorities. As a CDO, you are focusing on maintaining the BAU, but not building innovation or not driving innovation or not building new products. That's basically a waste of timing and resources, I would say. And most importantly, third thing which I faced is recently is that not addressing the technical debt. Now, if you go some organization as a data leader and you realize that they are using multiple data warehouses, Oracle is there, SQL Server is there, and then you must be having some server hidden under somebody's table and they are driving reports out of that, So that's where it causes huge problem, because the information silos, they create problems in the data value realization. So first thing you need to do is address the technical debt. Combine, break those silos and combine that, into one version, so that whatever you do in terms of data quality or in terms of value generation or in terms of knowing your customer or building a customer genome, it's coming from a single source. And irrespective of the way you look at it, all the numbers are coming up into one number, giving you true value, true number, which is a single version of truth, I would say. I think that's where the key technical risk is, that not having the true business drivers, not having your priorities aligned, not addressing the technical debt, and then not looking at the data quality are the key challenges, actually.
Good stuff. Now, do you have any advice for anyone looking to start the digital transformation journey in their organization?
I would say that engage me, first thing.
100%. I will make sure to put your LinkedIn profile. Is that the best way to reach out to you?
over the last 6 years, I have driven the digital transformation journey for aviation industry, banking, and financial organization. And I would say that first thing is that agree on the business drivers, that why you are doing this digital transformation. First of all, you're simply doing because your competitor is doing, or do you have some things in mind that you want to drive? Could be compliance, could be GDPR or CPG 235 or APRA regulations, could be compliance, could be efficiency in operations if you are a B2B industry, you know. Third thing is that, of course, I would love to go for a data monetization or a business diversification strategy for a B2C industry. Agree on those business drivers first. And then based on the business drivers, you build your strategy, because now those business drivers are determining your business strategy. Now, based on your business strategy, develop your technical or digital strategy, I would say. Don't do the other way around. Don't do the
Mm.
digital transformation, then say that, okay, this is what we can do.
Mm.
And then, because, and I specialize in identifying the gaps between business and technical strategy. Let's say that if you want to achieve XYZ, are you resource enough, or is your technical strategy is capable enough to deliver that? So those are the anomalies that you need to address first before you actually start the journey. You know, this is about planning. This is about starting before starting the journey. So as I say, that well begun is half done. So if you have done proper planning and you have properly, curated the business drivers, you have properly assessed the technical gaps, and then that's we say that now let's on these drivers, on these strategies, let's build a roadmap. And then this is where this framework comes into the picture, because that helps in speeding up your digital transformation, because there are a number of moving components. There is a data component, there is an automation component, there is a mobile app component, service orchestration component, because all these components, because if they run at different pace or different speed, you will see the example that we saw about misaligned bridge. So now the cost of realigning those initiatives is really expensive. So what you need to do is have the roadmap based on that framework which I designed, and make sure that your projects are running at proper speed, interacting with each other, so that you reach your destination at the same time. So this is all about executing the framework. I think once you have that, and then address the low hanging fruits on the way, because I don't think that any C-suite has an appetite to wait for 2 years for the journey.
Absolutely.
I would say that keep on showing some low hanging fruit, or keep them showing the quick wins, uh, within 3 to 6 months time frame, whether it is addressing the technical debt, whether it is moving to the cloud, or whether addressing the data quality, or whether it is building some automation in between using RPA, whether establishing service orchestration. Based on the business, again, it will come on based on your business strategy. That's why I say that strategy is important, because then you would know which components of the framework you need to focus more on, whether you need to
Mm.
focus on the data component, or whether you need to focus on the RPA component for the intelligent automation, or whether you need to have build a mobile app or a website, or whether you need to have a service orchestration component. So all these things will come into picture based on the business drivers you agreed. So your business drivers drive your strategy drives your roadmap, and your roadmap drives your execution. I think if you are aligned in that, you can say, chronology, then I would say that you can taste success quickly.
That is great stuff. Is there anything else you would like to share about your work?
I would say it's like, this is just a recent advice, that don't start your journey because everybody else is doing it.
So true.
Don't really copy somebody else. Just agree on your business drivers first, because these are not cheap journeys. These are expensive journeys. And then,
Exactly.
so you need to really start creating values from day one.
My final two questions for you. The first one is, what is your most important first principle?
I think first principle is honesty is the best policy. That comes a long way. That comes a long way. If you are giving honest advice to your customers, to your clients, or to your stakeholders, I think people value that.
Mm.
Whether they appreciate it immediately or not, that depends on the mindset of the listener or depends on the organization. But if you are giving them honest advice, I think they appreciate that. And I think whether you're talking about ethics or ethical practices in AI, it all generates from honesty is the best policy, I would say. If you are honest to yourself, to your customer, to your clients, I think that's the best way, I would say.
Well, thank you so much, Harjot, for sharing a lot of these digital transformation and the data, and also really unique view and experience about all of these CDO. I absolutely enjoy it, and I'm sure it will give a very refreshing and useful perspective to the listener. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jason. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Hello, if you enjoyed this conversation, hit that subscribe button so we can meet again. If you don't, I'll be stuck in an infinite loop. So pull that part by clicking the subscribe and help me out. You can further support us by leaving us a kind review from wherever you are listening. At the end of the year, I will choose a reviewer to send a special gift to, and it might just be you. I look forward to seeing you here next week for a new adventure. If I can find my way out of this endless loop. See ya!